Welcome to RuralStrong, where we talk real challenges and bold solutions in rural economic development. I'm your host, Joe Barker. Let's get into it. Welcome to RuralStrong, and we've got two outstanding guests today. We have Mayor Julian McTizic from the city of Bolivar, Tennessee, and we have former Mayor Jill Holland from the city of McKinsey, Tennessee. Welcome to RuralStrong.
Thanks for having us, Joe. Excited to be here.
We are looking forward to being here. Thank you.
I think today what we want to do is just have a conversation about local elected officials, their role in rural economic development, and I know both of you have approached this a little differently. Mayor McTizic is the mayor of Bolivar. He's been in office as mayor 8 years, and Bolivar has a population of around 5,100 people. Jill is a former mayor. She served as mayor 12 years in McKinsey, Tennessee, with a population of about 5,600. So two communities about the same size, and both communities were very successful in rural economic development. So I'm going to start with Mayor McTizic. Mayor, what is your role in economic development in the city of Bolivar?
Okay, well, I handle most of the recruitment when it comes to any of the industrial recruitment in our city. I sit on, well, I'm not a member of the IDD board, but I actually, present to them, I present recommendations to them, help write the pilots and all the tax agreements. And when it comes to anything with economic or community development and the industrial recruitment, I'm sort of that quarterback for the team of our community.
Outstanding. And Mayor, Mayor Holland, what was your role in rural economic development in the city of McKinsey?
Okay. In McKinsey, we had the Economic Development Board or Industrial Development Board, and the mayor is a member of that board, but a non-voting member. The director of the board was the person who was responsible for recruiting the industry into town. My role, in addition to the city, running the city, was I emphasized the retail and revitalization of our downtown because, of course, we know that the downtown is the heart of the city.
Now, both of you in your roles as mayor, do you see any conflicts in running the economic development programs or any advantages to it? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there hadn't been any conflicts, I would say, as much as it is when you're a small town with limited resources. A lot of times you wear dual hats. So for me as mayor, everything sort of falling into my office. So once we got started, we looked at other communities and we wanted to be, without chasing after some of this stuff, it's not going to happen. So we wanted, to start doing that. And we would love to hire a full-time economic developer and, pay someone to handle all that stuff. But until we get to that point that we could afford it, that's something that we took on in our office, and we've been successful at it. One of the challenges sometimes is these industries, when they come or they're requesting information, it's a tight time frame. So whatever's going on, you have to either stop that or add that to your duties that you're already dealing with now. So, sometimes you can get stretched thin as one person, but, for me, I have a great staff that I've surrounded myself with, and they do good in supporting those times when we have other conflicts, whether it be conferences or meetings and stuff like that we have to attend.
As a mayor that heads up the economic development efforts, do you ever run into a conflict where you're working with a company, you have confidentiality agreements, and one of your council people wants to know information on
Yes.
what's happening with a particular recruitment? How do you handle that?
We sign non-disclosures and we work with our attorneys when it comes to that stuff, and attorney-client privilege, and we work some things as dealing with that. We don't have the option to withhold certain information, but we are very strategic on how we, keep the company name confidential, and some information I don't get because I don't want to have to share it, So when there's those conversations like that, I sort of step back where I don't be in a situation that I have to share information that that company does not want public yet.
And Mayor Holland, in your role as a mayor where you actually had a full-time economic developer, what was your relationship with that person, and how did you see that relationship grow for the betterment of the community?
We had a close relationship with both of the IDB directors that we had. Most of the industries that were coming in, as Mayor McTizic said, you've got a code name for them. A lot of times, I would not even know the type of industry. I think that sometimes when those industries come in, they do not want to meet with the mayors and the council people. They have key people that they want to meet with. They're very strict on that. Maybe the public works, the water. They may want to meet with the utility, gas, electric. But the mayors are kept out of that a lot of times. And so I was not privy to some of those meetings. So I would say that would be one of the advantages of having the economic developer, or in our case, the industrial development director. Other things like retail, I was able to go out on my own and do, or work with the IDB board in that recruitment. But a lot of times the mayors on purpose are left out of those initial negotiations.
So, did sometimes your council people get frustrated because they didn't know a whole lot about an ongoing project? How did you work with them to try to keep them in the loop and also work with your industrial recruiter?
They would hear rumors, sometimes the coffee table, the liar's table rumors, and sometimes it would be necessary for either myself or the director of the Industrial Development Board to come in to a meeting and just kind of give them the scoop. These are some things that we're working on. It was usually very general, and they did realize that if they went too far into the weeds, that of course that project could be pulled. And so most of the time it wasn't a big problem.
All right, let's talk about some wins. In your time as Mayor McTizic, what would you consider your biggest economic development win?
Well, you're probably going to be surprised by this because most people would say, some of the industries that we've recruited, the big ribbon cuttings. But for me, I've learned to measure the success different. And for us, I will say for me, some of the biggest wins that we have is buying more industrial land and opening that access up. Because, when I first got elected, we weren't in the game. We weren't getting the calls and the site visits. And I found out real fast that we didn't have that inventory. We had 20, 30 acres, and now these companies are wanting 100, 200 acres of land for larger companies. We didn't have that, and now I'm excited to say that we have a little over 300 acres worth of industrial land that's available for purchase, and that's, for me, has been the biggest win. Like I said, I know most people wouldn't look at it that way, but if you don't have inventory for an industry, you don't have the utilities, like Jill mentioned, if you don't have those resources there, those people in place, you'll never be able to make that big deal happen. And we look at, I use Blue Oval for example. Once we got the mega site, it was a long time before Blue Oval actually happened because, in my opinion, lack of infrastructure. So unfortunately, without that infrastructure, we're not in the game. So for me, I think that's been, and I know most people wouldn't look at it that way, but you can't get to the ribbon cutting if you don't have inventory for them to go to make that ribbon cutting. So
Can't sell off an empty shelf.
absolutely.
How about you, Mayor Holland? What would you consider your greatest win in economic development?
Oh, I'd say there were several. Excuse me. Of course, coming off the kind of the recession that we had several of our industries that had scaled down, and we were able to secure, our industrial board was able to secure a tower support services, which made the big anchors for the cell phone towers. Republic Door was bought out by Allegiant, and they were able to increase their supply and also their workforce. A brand new company that came in, we were very proud of. They were actually from the Netherlands and made tile vases. They made all the tile vases for the Kroger stores. It's my understanding that they have expanded and have been bought out, but are doing very well. Of course, we had one of the small rural hospitals that was closed in West Tennessee, and it was a dilemma as to what to do with that hospital because Baptist that bought it out had ended up giving it to the city after we had talked to them. The hospital was becoming dilapidated, and they gave it to the city of McKinsey. We, in turn, deeded it to the industrial board so that they could use some of their incentives to get some tenants in. But we were not able to put another health care center there because of the contract between the city of McKinsey and Baptist. We couldn't do that for 20 years, anything that would compete. So we were able to secure a software company from a gentleman who had worked in the Silicon Valley, and it's my understanding that it's a Kachingo. He is doing very, very well, and he is training a lot of the college students in coding and a lot of other computer skills so that they don't have to leave. They can stay in the city. They can stay close to home and, raise their children there and also have a good income that's coming in. So, and he and his family have really expanded that. So I would say that was a huge win.
Outstanding. And knowing both of these mayors personally for many years, I will tell our listeners they both have done an outstanding job in their careers, leading their respective cities. What would you say, Mayor McTizic, is the greatest challenge for a rural community in trying to create jobs and bring new industry into your community?
Well, it's challenging on many fronts. One being rural, you don't have a lot of those resources. One, you can't change your location. So for us, we're a little off Interstate 40. I can't take my community and put it right on the interstate. I can't do that. The lack of understanding when it comes to how it actually works. I think people forget that when, this is on the industrial side and the retail side, everyone wants a Chick-fil-A. Your success is measured off, can you get a Chick-fil-A or can you get that new industry or factory open? But it's so many more Bollivers in the world and McKinseys and communities that's competing, and we can't just, like we talked about the inventory, we can't change some of those things. So we have those to, that we challenge, that we're challenged with day to day. And then also the lack of funds. When you're in a distressed community, it costs for infrastructure and it costs for, to build these buildings, and construction costs just continue to go up. And without those funds there to help with that, it makes it difficult, So we try to take advantage of stuff when it comes to state funding, federal funds, where we can make up where we, lack in those areas. So I think some of those are some of the challenges that we face. So.
How about you, Mayor Holland, the challenges you've had to face?
Well, we do have a Chick-fil-A.
So you just rub it in my face.
Bethel University, which we were very lucky to have both a Bethel University and also TCAT. So those are real pluses for us. But I know exactly what Mayor McTizic is saying. But around us, they want Target and Outback. So they don't understand why they wouldn't want to come to a very friendly community. But I think... like Mayor McTizic was saying, just the lack of funds for the infrastructure. And we found our industrial development board pursued site selection certification for the properties that we had. But even when you start putting in the infrastructure, it's phenomenally expensive. And it's either do you raise the taxes to do this, or, are you passed over so that they can come to a community that's shovel ready? I also think that educating the citizens on this is what you're doing, being transparent about it, and the reason why your town needs to look good, the reason why people need to mow their yards, and the shop owners need to sweep off in front of the sidewalks in front. That shows a certain pride in your town. And a lot of times these industrial CEOs and their families are driving through the town, and you don't even know that they're there. But just from the look of your town, they know what type of workforce they're going to attract. And is it a workforce that has a good work ethic? Do they have pride in their work? Or a lot of that just depends on the, what your town looks like. But I think, too, that the more that you can have events and projects that invite people into your town and that they see what you have to offer, I think that, that is a big plus, too. But I would say funds are huge, and a positive collaboration between the businesses and the townspeople is important. If they pick up a newspaper or go to the digital newspaper on, say, Facebook, and they see infighting going on, then you know that they're probably going to, go to the next town in your county or the county beside you.
In my travels to rural communities, there's one subject that always comes up, and that's housing. Yeah. We all want to grow, and if we're going to grow, it's going to bring in additional people, but guess what? These people have to have some place to live, and we're talking about affordable housing. I'd like to get both of your thoughts on that, because Mayor McTizic mentioned a large project in West Tennessee, Blue Oval City, and we hear this more than anything is for our rural community to take advantage of this huge project, we've got to have housing.
Right. And that term affordable housing, I think we are using it so loosely now, because what you can afford, I may not be able to afford, and it's different in every community. For our community, housing has been an issue before the mega site announcement. It was an issue. A lot of the issues we had after COVID was just issues magnified that was already there before. So it still goes back to that infrastructure conversation. And when it comes to whether it be low income, workforce housing, affordable housing, I have people in every division that's saying, I need homes, but I can't afford to purchase, or there's no homes to purchase. Then, when you go to a developer, I'm trying to find developers that want to build housing in our communities, and at the same time, those developers, I want to make as much profit, and that bottom line for them, they're trying to make that as big as they possibly can do it. And sometimes for a developer or contractor, it's a lot cheaper for them to develop in your urban areas, because they can sell that same house, that 1,600 square foot home that may go in Bolivar for 175, 200. In a urban area, that same house may go for 500,000. So it's a sort of a balance of trying to figure out, how we can do that. And then, like I said, that infrastructure, do you have the sewer capacity? Do you have the water infrastructure there to support that? So what we're trying to do on our end as a city is make sure that we have the capacity there for wastewater and water and gas, all those utilities, and make it as easy as we can for someone to develop, to build houses. Because I think, as we get the inventory there, it'll start, that problem will, start to be a little easier to tackle. But that, the term, like I said, affordable, is so loosely used now that it could mean anything, anywhere, depending on what table you're talking to. So it's a challenge, but we try to take the small wins the best way we can, and using the housing authority and the THDA, small loans from them and grants and stuff like that to try to do our part that we can help out on it. So, yeah.
Okay, I know in McKinsey, we would agree. We have the same problem as they do in Bolivar and every small town around. Housing is an issue. I know that we do have a few developers and real estate folks who have been building some homes, and I'm understanding that they are selling before they have ever been built. I know in McKinsey we have 67 acres that our industrial board owns, and it is specifically for hopefully housing. But so far we have not had a developer that is, has committed to coming in and developing that. I think probably a lot of it is because of the lack of infrastructure and the sewer and the water that has to be run out there, and that's very expensive, and it's difficult. Many times, a project like that, you kind of have to do in phases over several years. But especially for the small towns, it's the infrastructure, the funding it, and like Mayor McTizic said, just the availability of the land for these developers coming in.
And I want to sort of change path a little bit and talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's regionalism. As rural communities, sometimes we get caught up in our little silos like everybody else does. But I'm a firm believer that you work together as a region, and any win in the region is good for everybody involved. And we'll start with Mayor Holland first. What's your thoughts on regionalism and communities working together?
That more and more is becoming so important, that collaboration of working within your county and also the counties and the whole area around you. I know that Mayor McTizic and Director Barker and I were at the Select USA conference not long ago in Washington, D.C., and it became very, very apparent that the people who are looking for these sites for their industries, they are not interested in a particular town or a particular county. They are interested in the region and what the region can give back. So that collaboration is extremely important. One of the things that we have run into, and what I hear throughout, our region in West Tennessee, is maybe the football competition or the different competition between the communities has really affected in a negative way their ability to get along. And it's time to take those boxing gloves off and work together, because so many people in West Tennessee particularly will drive, an hour or an hour and a half to their job every day. Excuse me. So the regionalism is very important to show that most people do not work right in their community, but we have to have those relationships with the communities around us, because we're all attracting that workforce, not just from our city.
Mayor?
I'll say I'll echo Jill as well as what Joe's mentioned. We have to work together, and I'll tell a story. I had a guy that was looking to move his company here, and he was from, I want to say, Greece, and he loved blues music. I mean, he loved blues. He loved Elvis and the whole Memphis scene, and so I said, man, if you got time, we can go grab a bite to eat. So we drove to Memphis, which is, I was an hour and a half away from downtown Bolivar, from downtown Memphis. And somebody called from his company, and he was like, hey, I'm with the mayor, and we're on his Beale Street down here. He had no clue that we wasn't in Bolivar anymore, so we have to remember that people from the outside, we're always trying to recruit people to come. they don't know where Hardeman County starts and stops, and they don't know where McKinsey is compared to Jackson. They're here, and we have to sell each other and work together. And I know we've had those, like you said, the Friday night lights. We for years have always had these inter-county as well as these regional fights in sports. But that's fine and fun, and it has its place. But when you're competing with other states and other countries, we have to work as a region and just share what we all have, because there's a lot of things that we like. The numbers of McKinsey and Bolivar, the populations are the same, but there's a lot of the values that McKinsey and Bolivar, USC will be alike. Same with whether it be Selma or Brownsville. So opposed to us selling our communities, we sell our Southwest Tennessee region, and I feel like West Tennessee is best Tennessee. And once we get to that final round and we're competing against McKinsey and Bolivar, then I'll just jump in and say how Bolivar is going to be so much greater. But until we get to that point, we have to sell Southwest and just this whole region as a whole. And I think we have so much more to offer when we do that. And it's exciting too. It's always good to have a partnership when it comes to trying to tackle a problem. Yeah.
Well, and there's economies in scale. When we look at our region in Southwest Tennessee, if communities come together and financially participate together, many times they can do things or have services or programs that they could not do just themselves. So if I could say one thing to our listeners is, work together as a region, because number one, there's strength in numbers, but number two, from economies of scale and financially, it just makes sense. All right, in the remaining couple of minutes we've got left, both of you are experienced mayors, and I know we probably have mayors that are new in office now and in rural communities. If you could give them one piece of advice from both of you as a new mayor from your experience, what would it be?
I guess so for me, I have to talk about Tennessee and the resources that's here. And I'm pretty sure it's wherever you are, wherever you may be listening from in the country, I'm sure there are some entities like the ones I'm about to mention in your various states. But for us, and it sort of goes on that regionalism thing, reach out to your partners, the development districts, TVA, ECD, all those different groups, like you said, that has the numbers and the resources that you need, and just go after it and work together with your communities. And, most of the time, that problem that you're dealing with, another city has already faced that problem, and there's an answer to it somewhere. You just have to find it, and once you find it, just whatever that solution is, we do the R&D, research and development, or rip off and duplicate, and do the same thing in your community. And if you get an issue that you don't have a solution to, then that's an opportunity for communities to work together to find one. So, but I definitely tell you to reach out to your development districts and your partners, whether it be for us, I say it's MTAS and CTAS, which is your Municipal Technical Service Advisory. So I don't know where you may be listening, but if you are listening from Tennessee, those areas are definitely the partners that you want to work with to make your job a lot easier.
Okay, I agree once again with everything Mayor McTizic said. Learn all you can from anyone that can teach you. Remember, government is slow. It's not like a corporation or a business. Any little project can take years, especially if you have a grant that you're working with. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But there are so many agencies around that can help. Look at your town with new eyes. It's so easy to drive through a town and you see the same things you've always seen, and it doesn't bother you. Maybe the trash lying on the sidewalk, or your welcome sign has weeds growing around it. But what about somebody who has never seen your town before, and you're always selling your town, and make sure that it looks like what you're selling. Also, talk to other mayors. Look at the success of other towns. And I remember, folks sometimes telling me, well, we can't be a Franklin. No, we can't. We're not even in the same location as Franklin. But there may be some things going on in Franklin or Bolivar or Whiteville or Savannah that, we might not be able to do it just like them, but we can pull bits and pieces of it and make it successful in our town. So look at everything with new eyes. When you go into a town or you're on vacation, look at what's going on there and pick up little bits and pieces that you can bring back and make your town better. Listen to the townspeople. Go to the coffee shops. Involve them. Involve the youth. Try to get their ideas for what they can do to make the town better, and that way they help own the projects, and they will have more of a tendency to be behind those different projects that you're starting.
Wow, what great advice from two successful, experienced, small town, rural mayors. When I was in elected office, it was always those people that I looked to, like y'all, when I was new, is because they had been there, they had done that. So I would give the piece of advice: find you a mentor. Someone that knows the challenges you have, and I guarantee you they've probably faced it somewhere in their career. I appreciate everyone listening today. We'd love your comments, or if you'd like to get in contact with either of these two mayors, we have an email. It is ruralstrong@gmail.com. This is Joe Barker. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us on Rural Strong. If you found this helpful, share it and follow the show for more insights from rural leaders making a real difference. Until next time, stay rural strong.